Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So today we have another case of messing around and finding out, and this time it involves an entire studio imploding thanks in part to some of the woke wackadoos employed there. Now let's read the headline before we get into the details. It says this: EA has canceled their Black Panther game. Cliffhanger Studios, the studio developing the game, has been closed down. So here is the IGN report they're referring to. Apparently there was an internal email sent throughout the EA staff where basically they're saying due to recent cancellation and layoffs, they're trying to sharpen their focus and put their creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities. So as a result of that, they have closed down Cliffhanger Studios and they're canceling this Black Panther game. This also comes along with another round of layoffs for EA, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So let's talk about Cliffhanger Games. Rest in peace to this studio that is now shut down. It says right here in their bio, a new AAA studio that didn't last very long. Now, their latest tweet was this right here, talking about how they believe the best stories are the ones told by you and that they're looking for diverse and fearless artists to collaborate with their Black Panther game. Now, the comment section didn't go the way they expected. If you look down here, it says this: by diverse, you mean racist, right? No one is going to buy your racist game. I believe you are about to be sued out of business. You are the definition of racism. This person says, as long as you're not white, I guess. I think this is illegal. So what are these comments talking about that are dominating this post? Well, they are referring to this individual right here named Danny Lalanders. Now, that used to be their official handle on Twitter, but they have changed it to ExoGirlBossOX. And they've gone private to hide any sort of, I guess, accountability for the ridiculous stuff they've said over the past couple of years. And if you use their link tree there, well, page not found, a great promotion of themselves right here. But anyways, to give you guys the details of their history, they were a former Sweet Baby Inc. narrative consultant. As always, it always comes back to Sweet Baby Inc. It never fails. Every major controversy, especially involving people who are discriminating against others based on the color of their skin, it always comes back to someone who was at one point employed with Sweet Baby Inc. Now, of course, before they privated their account, they made many banger tweets and responses like this, where someone said, being appropriately called a racist is tiresome, huh? You could try not being racist, where Lalanders replied by saying, yeah, I'm racist, so now what? Yeah, I've seen people on Twitter names like Hitler Cunny 1488 who are more subtle in their racism than this person. But, of course, there is a long history of this Black Panther writer here for the game, of course, saying some out-of-pocket things about other races, including this article right here from Bounding into Comics that says, ex-Sweet Baby Inc. employee and current EA's Marvel's Black Panther narrative designer seen proudly bragging that previous title Validate had no white people on the dev team. This clip is outrageous and, of course, very important to helping understand the kind of person that is employed by not only Sweet Baby, but also EA on this project that, of course, is now canceled with Black Panther.
Team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people because they think that something may be okay, but it was really a microaggression. And no one wants to deal with that while they're trying to make a game that they love.
Would you look at that? The progressive people once again discriminating against white people. Many such cases. But of course, what is the game they're referring to? We know about the Black Panther game that's now canceled. But what is Validate? Well, besides being the most hilarious name, like almost parody level name for a game like this. It sounds woke as you could ever imagine. This is a dating sim type game that was released. You can see on Steam here. I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to watch some of the trailer for this game. It is ridiculous. Like I said with the title, it almost has to be a parody. Maybe this is like a 5D chess move. Maybe this is the ultimate troll, but this is what we're dealing with here. Let's just absorb what's going on, okay?
Are you ready to find that future bae? Or will you mess up and fumble the bag?
Nah. I can't, dude. What? Can we be serious for a second? Like I said, they gotta be trolling.
Get to know struggling singles just like you. Our first 4 players, playable characters, are ready to meet their match.
This is what wokeness does to your brain and your creativity. This is the product of catering to this nonsense. You end up creating stuff like this. It's insane. This is absolutely insane. I won't make you guys suffer anymore because there's a lot more to go with this trailer. Another full minute, and I don't want to subject you guys to that. You get the point. But this was the game that they were working on. The team, of course, that had no white people because, God forbid, they would have a white person on their staff to create this absolute gem of a game called Validate. Now, not lost in the shuffle here, this is another person who was a part of the staff for the Black Panther game, this Alexa Ray Courier individual, who was responding to Alyssa Mercante, who said, I don't support all gamers, they're biggest blah, blah, blah. And they said, I need this on a shirt. Once again, just like Sweet Baby being connected to all the worst people in the industry, so is Alyssa Mercante, who, by the way, I pay the very minimal amount of attention to because she is desperate for attention as her career and her influence has floundered over the past couple of months since being fired by Kotaku. She's doing everything in her power to try to get people's attention in the most ridiculous ways, and I only show her in this for context. That's it. And that's really all the attention she currently deserves. But let's move on here because just like everything else in this situation, you turn over a stone and you find a bunch of usual suspects hiding underneath it. So the article we referenced at the beginning of this video about EA canceling Black Panther, it was of course from IGN, but who's the author? Rebecca Valentine. Now, who's this? Well, this is a screenshot of her account when she was private. She has since deactivated entirely. She has completely fled the platform, but she went private after getting a lot of very valid criticism based on an article, one of many disasters she made, but this one in particular, where she called out Black Myth Wukong and their studio that developed a game called Game Science. And this is the title saying how Black Myth Wukong developers' history of sexism is complicating its journey to the West. Well, it turns out, spoiler alert, it did not complicate its journey. This game was a massive success, an amazing game, hugely profitable for that development team. But anyways, as you'll see from the tweet sharing the article, it's been community noted, as it should, where the apparent sexist quotes were blatant mistranslations, like so badly mistranslated, a lot of people have suspected that it was malicious, that this was an intentional effort to take quotes that were completely benign and twist them in a way that would hurt this studio. And of course, IGN was caught in 4K trying to pull this move. Unfortunately, despite being fact-checked, disgraced, embarrassed by everyone, this article has been used as a primary source to accuse the developers and the team at Black Myth Wukong of being sexist over and over again. All of these other outlets have used this as the primary source with no question. They just accepted this as fact and they've run with it and they continue to run with it. It's shameless and it shows how interconnected all of these so-called journalist outlets are, where they accept this as a fact without looking into it themselves. They just use it as a source and it's disgusting. But also, thanks to Rebecca Valentine, she also made a recent article a few weeks ago talking about EA, because the whole layoff situation with the recent Cliffhanger Studios is not the only one. Recently, EA cut around 300 roles, including roughly 100 at Respawn, reportedly cancels Titanfall game. It has been a disaster at EA, and guess what? Nobody, and I mean nobody, feels bad for them. In fact, it gets even worse. You can see this headline from That Park Place. Dragon Age writer blames anti-fans for game failures while ignoring industry's role in massive flops. Now, of course, they're referring to Dragon Age the Veilguard, the massive failure that EA specifically mentioned in one of their financial reports as one of the reasons they had such a tough quarter when this game was released, because it was so disappointing. But here's the actual quote from the article. In the piece, Gator criticizes what he calls anti-fans, individuals he claims actively work to see certain games fail as a form of punishment for the creative decisions they disagree with. In quotes, then they turn from what you want, fans who would go out and spread word of your game and get people interested, Gator said. But if you get anti-fans, they sort of do the opposite. They're very determined suddenly to see your game fail as a sort of lesson to others who make games of the same type. You know what? Here's the problem with this whole anti-fan narrative. Where are the fans? Because, you know what? Anti-fans can say whatever they want. They can criticize the game. They can tell people not to play. But at the end of the day, if people are genuinely interested, guess what? They're not going to listen to those people. They're going to play the game anyways. And they didn't do that with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Very clearly. So there's no one to blame in this situation except for EA as well as BioWare. These are the companies that are responsible for producing this slop that took a cash grab, a easy ball on the tee situation with Dragon Age the Veilguard, a respected and very supported franchise with a very loyal fan base. They come out this game that people waited years and years for, and they dropped the ball because they wanted to focus on identity politics and pushing agenda and not providing an enjoyable experience that was really just defined by terrible writing and terrible narrative consulting, and it just shows. And this game will live in infamy. Its legacy is being a massive disappointment, and now they're trying to turn around and blame the anti-fans. I've never heard that phrase before, but I guess it's a new one. The anti-fans are the reason this game failed. No, this game failed because BioWare, as well as EA, dropped the ball. It's really as simple as that. But there's one more thing I want to cover in this situation, a little Asmongold cameo, responding to a report that EA is canceling the Black Panther game, where he says, "Welcome home," with this McDonald's uniform right here. And he also said this, once again, as an EA shareholder, they don't know what they're doing. You don't need to always cancel a game. Maybe pivot or downsize. Don't just throw away the project. There's no way these teams are so untalented they can't ship a game, surely, right? Where he said some babies deserve to be aborted. Ouch. Big ouch on that. But also, I saw this post recently that kind of relates to everything we're talking about in this video. It has to do with DEI, because a lot of people believe that's part of the reason Cliffhanger Studios met its fate, because they have focused on DEI, which ultimately, and ironically, is discriminating against certain people based on the color of their skin. But there's this big fear among DEI specialists, because, my God, that's a thing apparently. They're very worried because apparently a lot of DEI specialists, they can't find jobs anymore. Wow. Couldn't have happened to a better group of people, right? You can see people in this industry on LinkedIn saying that Corporate America has eliminated more than 2,600 jobs in diversity, equity, and inclusion since early 2023. That accounts for about 13% of DEI-related jobs that existed in early 2023. There's a major problem. It's not enough. It's not enough. 13%, that's rookie numbers, ladies and gentlemen. That should be way higher. These jobs are a joke. The people hustling this stuff, they're trying to basically weaponize race and try to monetize race and racial tensions to try to, well, push their agenda and also make money off of it. They've been doing this for years, and people are tired of the crap. It's reflected in the gaming industry, as well as every industry across the board, and thank God people are waking up to this. And like I said, 13%, that's way too low. We got to up those numbers, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.